Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister and asks, did he tell a meeting in Timaru last week, quote, "The entire time I've been Prime Minister, I've had Treasury in my office week after week, month after month, telling me South Canterbury Finance was going bankrupt"?
The Right Honourable Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
I don't have a transcript with me, and I can't recall exactly what I said, but I certainly received regular updates from Treasury on South Canterbury. The government was aware of the company's financial difficulties, but our advice was that there was a chance, however slim it might have been, that South Canterbury could trade its way out of these difficulties. That did in fact not happen. South Canterbury was placed in receivership in August 2010 and payments were made to deposit holders under the terms of the 2008 Retail Deposit Guarantee Scheme devised and implemented by the then Labor government.
Honourable Trevor Mallard.
If the Treasury advice was that there was a chance that the firm was going bankrupt, why did he tell people in Timaru that Treasury told him it was going bankrupt?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, the point was that unless the firm could find a buyer, and therefore capital injection was highly likely it would go bankrupt. In fact, they couldn't find a buyer. They did go bankrupt.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Supplementary question. How much would the Crown have saved if the government had taken the initial Treasury advice and not allowed South Canterbury Finance into the guarantee scheme because, as Treasury advised him, they were never compliant?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, my understanding it was arranged by the previous Labor government, and as per the ministerial statement of Parliament, South Canterbury Finance was admitted to the scheme on the 19th of November, happened to be the day the government was sworn in.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Was the signature that brought South Canterbury into the scheme that of John Whitehead on behalf of Bill English?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, most probably on advice given to the then Labor government on the scheme they advised at the time. But I think it's worth remembering. It's worth remembering why Michael Cullen wanted South Canterbury to go into the scheme. Well, yes, Michael Cullen did, and the reason was quite simple. If they hadn't gone into the scheme and other finance companies hadn't gone in, as the member would know, as a former associate finance spokesman, those companies would have gone bankrupt because the level playing field was changed at the point that the then Labor government, by the way, at their conference and the start of their election campaign, announced the scheme.
Joe Goodhue.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister.
Order. I've called. Order. Order. I apologise to the member. Order. I've called Joe Goodhue. Supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister. With hindsight, is there anything this government could have done differently to lower the cost to taxpayers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no. Once the Crown guarantee was made available to finance companies by the previous government and South Canterbury was admitted to the scheme in 2008, the die was effectively cast. It became evident over time that the company had made bad loans and under the terms of the scheme, taxpayers were legally obliged to make good any losses to deposit holders. No amount of wishful thinking and none of the arrangements suggested by the previous buyers can alter that fact. Sadly, the Labor government didn't work that out when they announced the scheme at their conference.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Were there, subsequent to the initial bringing into the scheme under the signature of Mr English, were there two further opportunities to take them out that the national government decided not to take up and therefore cost the Crown over an extra $1 billion?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no. And as the Minister of Finance actually said in his ministerial statement to Parliament on South Canterbury Finance, despite the deteriorating position, South Canterbury Finance remained in compliance with the deed of guarantee and as such there was no ability or cause for the Crown to withdraw their guarantee. Secondly, South Canterbury Finance failed under your scheme, not the later extended one.
Order. The Speaker doesn't have any scheme.
Supplementary.
The order. The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the
Order. I've called the Honourable Rodney Hyde.
To the Prime Minister. Has the Prime Minister seen Phil Goff's call in the wake of the South Canterbury Finance collapse for the entire government to resign? And what is his response to Phil Goff's secret election strategy?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Tempting is what I think is his offer, and clearly there's a game of one-upmanship going on over there as they sort out who the real leader will be.
Question number 9, Chris Achenwald.